We're back. Yay! Welcome back, everybody. We're back in the studio, as you can see. We're not on Zoom anymore, thank God, because I was tired of using Zoom 24/7 because audio and video were terrible. So, yeah, sorry about that. We're back anyways. So we're going to kind of go over what happened during the wild card weekend and kind of go from there. We have the Browns and Texans, 45-14. What are your impressions?
I kept saying, my younger brother kept going, "Oh, the Browns are going to do so good. The only team that are going to beat the Browns is going to be the Bills." And I was like, the Browns are not going to make it very far. They're a team of backups. Yes, they played well in the regular season, but a team of backups is not going to go far in the playoffs. I just gave them the benefit over the doubt. I doubted C.J. Stroud again, and I'm sorry. I continue to do it. I'm like, he's a rookie. First year, probably not going to do great in the playoffs. I was wrong. I continue to doubt him, and he proves me wrong.
Because I predicted the Browns to win. I didn't say it was going to be a blowout. I said it was going to be close. I didn't doubt Stroud. I just didn't know how well he would do. Like I knew he would do well. I just didn't know how much he would elevate his team. And he elevated his team. I watched most of that game until the very end because it's the Texans won. It was just complete domination. Like you said, all backups on the Browns. You can only go so far. And Flacco, as much as I liked seeing him back, I didn't think he was going to do that well if he got past the wild card. He finally has his first loss in the wild card. Yeah, I mean, Stroud became the youngest QB to win a playoff game. It was 22 years old and 100 and something days, something around that time. But basically, Stroud's already breaking records. How far do you think the Texans will go this time around? Because it's hard to tell. Because, like you said, rookie, don't know. But
it's interesting. These playoffs are hard. I thought it would get easier when we got to the playoffs, taking guesses as to who would win stuff, but it's not, because it's you got Ravens Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Texans looked really good, but they're still a really young team. And you have the Ravens, who were the consensus best team by the end of the regular season and had a bye week, but they struggled in the playoffs. So both have reasons to be optimistic, but also not overly optimistic. So it's I'm a Ravens fan. I'm going to believe in the Ravens. And I think that especially after Browns and Steelers lost, I was the only team that can beat the Ravens is the Ravens. Because they always get in their own way whenever things go poorly, and that's been the issue in the past, is they get in their own way. Texans just have to, if the Ravens get in their own way, Texans just have to not do the same thing. And it seems like they have a Coach of the Year candidate, a Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, maybe even a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. The good thing for Texans is I've heard this phrase used a lot for some of these playoff teams, specifically the Packers. But applying for the Texans, they're playing with house money. They're all young players. They don't need to win this year because they're not supposed to win this year. They're just proving that they can for the future. If they win this year, fantastic. But it's not a big deal if they lose. They've already accomplished way more than expected.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a win-win situation. If they get knocked out against the Ravens, it doesn't matter. They weren't even projected to be really good this year. They were projected 6-11 I saw, and now they're 10-7 in the regular season. Just beat the Cleveland Browns. So I don't know. It's looking good. Stroud is developing really well, and I don't know. It's just he might become really, really good. He might lead the Texans to more playoff appearances and maybe a Super Bowl in the future. I don't know. We'll see. I would like that to happen, but I don't know because it's kind of hard to tell. It was a really great performance on Stroud. Really great performance overall on the Texans. Defense clamped down on the Browns. So yeah.
I'm curious to see if he hits a sophomore slump. That'll be next year. Will be the test. Is if he can do this again next year, then he's like for real. If he hits a sophomore slump, then it'll be a little bit more wait and see. But I'm excited to see what he does, and he kind of makes me like the Texans a little bit, which is like ew. Because
Why do you hate the Texans?
well, the Texans are just, I don't know, maybe it's the Bill O'Brien era, and
I think it's the Bill O'Brien era. It definitely rubbed me the wrong way when I started watching NFL a long time ago. And Bill O'Brien was just something else.
yeah.
We try to forget about him. I've always rooted for underdogs or teams that haven't won a championship, and Texans do fall into that category. So as much as I hated watching Bill O'Brien just completely destroy this team, I do want them to have success. It's just they needed to get over a hump, and they did for now. So now we have Dolphins and Chiefs. I gave too much credit to the Dolphins, and that's on me because I was like, you know what? I think the Dolphins will win in Arrowhead. No, that's on me because I knew that Miami does not play well in the cold, and it was like what, -30, or at least predicted
It was
to be that cold.
it was slightly below 0, but felt like -23. I
Yeah.
believe is
Yeah.
with the wind chills.
Mahomes, he did okay. Pacheco and Rice definitely went off, but that game wasn't really sealed away until I think like the third quarter. The first half was kind of like, we'll see if they come back or not, but nah. Hill was the only one who got a touchdown that day. So, I mean, even Tyreek Hill just said online that they could learn from this loss and everything. But do you really think that you're going to go forward with Tua? I thought Tua was going to break the mold and not be called a he throws the ball too low or whatever. Like basically all the negative things towards Tua. I thought he was going to basically keep his receipts, as he said, and prove his haters wrong. All he did was just vindicated that he was not ready for the playoffs.
They're an injured Dolphins team. They have a
yeah.
lot of injuries on the defense, which has sucked. They've lost They've had so many guys that have kind of broken out this year, and they've lost like 3 or 4 big guys having big seasons to injury for the year.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is we've seen that has been just a recurring thing every year is in order to win, you have to be able to run the ball.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins just I don't know how many carries people had between Mostert and Achane, but they need to kind of establish a stronger run game.
Yeah, Mostert had 33 yards that day.
How many carries did he have?
I didn't see, but he only has like a few.
Yeah,
It wasn't much.
You can't win the playoffs only throwing the ball. I mean, you look at any of the teams that won. I think the Texans would be like the one caveat, but that's also because the Browns didn't throw or run the ball much. Bills ran the ball well. Packers ran the ball well.
I mean, it really depends on the structure of their offenses and everything. But if you can do a little bit of everything, that tends to do well. But I don't know. It depends on the team. So moving away from stats, there were people in the stands who got hospitalized from hypothermia and frostbite. So there were some fans with shirtless and everything. I'm like, you are dumb. I don't want you to die, but if you die, I'm going to be like, you did this to yourself.
See, here's the thing, though. It happens in KC, and you're like, that's stupid. But you see it in Buffalo, and you're like, yeah, Buffalo.
Well, they're a crazy fan base anyways. See, Buffalo,
They get a pass.
I think they get a pass mostly because they've been doing it forever. It's just like, okay, well, at this point, it's like you can't
It's
stop
just-
them.
it's Buffalo.
They've lit themselves on fire already, so it's just, it's like, okay, I guess.
I love that fan
But
base.
KC, don't start doing what the Bills are doing because I don't think you can handle the Bills' level of insanity. Steelers and Bills. There were people online that were like, yeah, the Steelers are going to blow out the Bills.
I don't know what person would take to any social media and say that you guys barely made the playoffs and you're gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna
No, I look at social media. I check the comments. All the comments under every post that talks about the Steelers and Bills, they were just like, oh yeah, Steelers we're gonna make the 7th seed 2-6 this year. We're gonna blow out the Bills. They aren't ready for us and everything. I'm like, no. And yes, I did see the call, or the no call actually on Pickens. Did you see that? There was a pass towards Pickens where there wasn't a call for pass interference or holding, I think, and Pickens, like, because there was no call, he threw his helmet to the ground and was really ticked off and everything, and just called basically that the refs were helping the Bills and everything. I didn't watch the entire game, but the time that I did watch it, I thought the referees were fine. And in my category for fine being they weren't like doing stupid things consistently. Sure, there were a couple dumb things, but like they weren't egregious. Also, the Steelers were not going to win the game regardless if they got that call.
No, and it goes to show that the Steelers have been the whiniest when it comes to penalty calls this season. I have seen people complain about the late hit on Josh Allen, but also complain about Josh Allen because it was in tandem with his fake slide on his run, which I still don't believe was not a fake slide.
It wasn't a fake
The
slide.
most I've heard as an argument is he thought about sliding, but he did not indicate that he was going to slide.
No.
So it's not a fake slide. I still think he went and he just was juking people out.
Yeah.
I think he stopped to juke. But they said that, and then he did a quote-unquote late slide, which was not a late slide. He started to slide at the line of scrimmage, and maybe it was a light call as far as a late hit goes, but it was not a late slide. There was also the fact that there was a fumble by Pat Freiermuth that was originally
I thought it was
not-
Pickens.
no. So that one he actually fumbled.
Oh, okay.
Well, Freiermuth also fumbled, but the call on the field was that it was recovered out of bounds. The ball was not recovered out of bounds,
Oh, that one. Okay.
and so basically Buffalo challenged it. They couldn't prove I don't know how they couldn't prove it. It didn't touch Freiermuth when he was out of bounds, and it was recovered in bounds, but for some reason the call on the field stood, so the Steelers kept the ball. There should have been a second fumble. So Steelers, if you think the refs are out to get you, you're full of shit.
I mean, this is coming from a Ravens fan, obviously, but I'm also saying this from this perspective that Steelers, you have not been good in since 20. I think, what is it? We don't talk about the 2020 Steelers because that team itself was toxic, and then there was 2017 that was also toxic. The last time that team was good was like 2016, 2017 when Antonio Brown was still playing for the Steelers. Like, that was the last time you were good. In any recent history, it's only been TJ Watt. That's only been your really great player. Like, obviously you have you have Harris, you have other players. For a while you had Pouncey still, but regardless, the Steelers have not been good lately, and the fact that they're still whining about it is just it's kind of ridiculous because you also have to realize this is the same team that for some reason won't fire their coaches, they retire their coaches, or they won't let people walk or anything. They just keep people around for no reason, even though they don't. Matt Canada was the first, I think, just any staff member fired from the Steelers organization in like recent memory. No one's been fired until him. So the Steelers aren't going to change, especially since Tomlin is A, still around, B, they're still going to have the culture of, well, we got to get the positive record season consistently. That record doesn't mean crap unless you win Super Bowls. So it's just, I'm tired of hearing it. So, I mean, Tomlin did walk out of his interview after one of those people asked him, "Hey, what's your future for the Steelers?" And he just like, nah, peace. He did come back the next day. He was like, anybody asking about my future with the Steelers? So at least he owned up to it a little bit. And then I appreciate with Tomlin. It's just, I don't see anything changing in that organization until they finally wake up and move away from the Steeler way. So
I don't think the coaching is the issue. They have a good defense. They need to find an offensive coordinator and build an offense. Yeah. Which they don't have a lot of room to really build that right now. Mm-hmm. There's an offseason move that it makes so much sense in my head. But as far as Tomlin goes, I've loved the discussion about like the idea of him leaving, because I'm like, please let him leave. Please let the Steelers make a dumb move and let him go, because I don't know how people argue that he's a bad coach. He takes crap teams and leads them to winning seasons. Those crap people argue, he makes it to the play. They haven't won in 5 years, or they've lost their last 5 playoff games. Yeah. And it's like, look what teams he's dragged to the playoffs. They're not going to win in the playoffs. Yeah. Get him a good team, and he actually is a good coach. Mm-hmm. Your teams are just bad. Yeah. Solution? Get an offense and a quarterback. Yeah. Hint, hint. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, wink. But they won't do that because they'll stick with Rudolph and Pickett.
Rudolph won't start. He might be like a long-term backup. Pickett might, if they don't make a big move in the offseason. I think they should make a big move, but
Pickett hasn't proven anything to me. So
Pickett, I see some avenues, but again, this is just with who I think would fit that Steelers offense as a quarterback. Would he be good? I don't know, but I see it making sense as far as him going there. Miles Jack had a rough day.
He did have a rough day.
Did you see him? Who did he? Was it on the Khalil Shakir touchdown where he tackled the wrong person? He tackled Stephon Diggs. Yeah. And I was like, imagine being Stephon Diggs. You're blocking for someone to get, and he gets into the end zone, and the next thing you know, someone's just on your back. You're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Man, what the hell? The other thing is that Jack has, I watched somebody cover it a little bit. Jack has had history struggling against like running offenses. He's not good against them. So statistically and everything, he's not as good against running offenses. So that was part of it. And I think that was the other thing, is that the Steelers weren't well equipped in some areas. That was another issue. But
yeah, they were also pretty injured.
Yes, Bills were also pretty injured. This was a pretty...
Well, Bills suffered a lot of injuries during the game. Steelers came in with a bunch of, especially I feel like linebackers. I feel like they're missing a lot of linebackers.
They're missing a lot of linebackers.
So
the Bills did their part. It wasn't flashy, but it was definitely enough to get them the win.
It was a snow game.
It wasn't a snow game, but it was in a snowy environment.
I loved watching every time the Bills scored, just the fans throwing the
snowballs. Yes, I think that's a really cool thing. They should definitely keep it, as long as they don't direct it at people that are on the field. I think that's fine.
They had a play where someone threw a snowball at Pickens while he was trying to make a catch. They missed by like 2 feet, but they almost actually hit him during a play, which would have been like
that would have been like you kicked out. I would have actually.
But like
I as a supported him getting.
When it comes to fan base, don't do that.
Don't do that.
don't interfere with the play. That's so.
I
I saw
love.
that and I was like,
Uh,
"You're. I like you guys as a fan base. Don't
don't
do
ruin
that
your
shit.
reputation, please, because I
Don't do
really
that."
love the Bills fan base. I think they're a really cool fan base. It's
It's like
just
a.
we don't need that, please. Thank you.
It's like a
Goodbye.
Steelers and Eagles fan base thing to do.
Yes, specifically the Eagles throwing snowballs at Santa. We're gonna discuss the Packers and Cowboys, but we have a guest speaker that will be going on and talking about it. He's a Packers fan, and we'll kind of segue into that right now. Hey guys, so this is a different segment. We have someone who is now here. We have our first guest speaker. Uh, Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, I'm Nate. Hi.
So Nathan here is a Packers fan, and we thought let's get the perspective of a Packers fan from the game this last weekend, especially from a Packers fan who was actually at the game, which is
Oh
actually really
yeah.
cool. Which is actually
That's for
really cool.
sure.
I wish.
You haven't
So,
been to a pro game
Nathan,
before, Josiah?
no, I have not been to a Pro Bowl, not Pro Bowl game, not a pro football game yet. I need to go at some point. So,
Yeah.
don't know which
Man,
team.
don't know which team? Not yet.
Not
Hey, be
yet.
a
Not
Packers
yet.
fan, especially after this weekend. Man, crazy.
Well, okay. I guess if you're gonna convince me to be a Packers fan, so tell me how well do you think the Packers did, like, this last weekend? Because I know
Dude,
you're a young team, so
we are the young, like one of the youngest teams to ever reach the playoffs, the youngest team to win a playoff game, and yeah, we whooped their butts, bro, in Dallas. I'll tell you right now, many people who are watching have not been to the AT&T Stadium. Let me tell you, it's a work of art. But it's crazy how they built that stadium just for the Packers to win in it. But the Packers are 3-0 at AT&T Stadium in the playoffs. And the Cowboys are 0-2 in AT&T Stadium. They made that stadium just for the Packers, I swear. Like the fact that we just did so well is beyond my comprehension. I came to that game hoping to have a good time, winning or losing. And I had a good time getting into fights with Cowboys fans, man. They were throwing fists. I was throwing my words. And let me just tell you right now, I'm a fast guy. And that's the only reason I survived that game. All right, man?
how was the experience during that game? I know you said that you were having some confrontations with some Cowboys fans. Was it like mostly insults being thrown back at each other, or was it more
Yeah.
uh
I mean, yeah. Hey, after the game, some people were yelling at me. They were yelling, "Boo! Packers suck!" And you know what I said to them? Hey, Cowboys fan, when's your game next week? And, and they stopped to think. They were like, no, and they had no response. They had no response because they don't get to play a game next week. Can you believe that?
No, I
I
believe
can't.
that.
I can barely believe it. But who could have expected that meltdown, though, right? That's
No,
crazy.
nobody. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody could expect that one. I guess, how do you summarize the Packers season so far, I guess?
Josiah, do you know what a camel looks like? Imagine there's a camel, but with not just one hump, but two humps. Can we imagine that for 1 second here? Can we
Yeah, I can
imagine
imagine
that?
that.
We can
I
imagine
can
that, right?
imagine.
So imagine the Packers season started off at like the first hump, right? Hey, we're pretty high up here, right? And then we kind of dip down, oh, and then we go, oh, because the last 9 games of the season, Jordan Love is 32-1, 32 touchdowns and 1 interception. That has like barely ever been done before. But like only one other guy in the NFL currently now who plays for the New York Football Jets, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not comparing Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers. Actually, technically, I am. But look, if Aaron Rodgers is great and he does that, and he's considered great for doing that, then what is Jordan Love considered when he does the exact same thing in the last 9 games that he's played? I'm just asking questions here, okay? I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love seems to be developing in the right direction, honestly. He did prove me wrong. I thought he was going to be bad. And then halfway through the season, he started showing up in those games. Oh, what was it? He showed up at the Chiefs game. He showed up those like
later games in the season. Did put
Yeah.
up some great numbers. I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get another Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Because
Yeah.
it's looking like it right now.
But like, hey, I don't really like the Aaron Rodgers comparisons. I feel like Jordan Love is his own guy. Like the way that he interacts with his team, the way that
Mhm.
he's so selfless on and off the field, right? There's a bunch of interviews that he's done and other people that have vouched for him. On Mondays, he has team meetings with his guys, and he invites all the offense over to not only have food, but to also watch film. And honestly, that off the field work has really shown on the field. The youngest receiver core in the NFL right now has shown leaps and bounds of strides above so many other receiver cores and quarterback receiver duos. This is no Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. This is no Tom Brady, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, and that one other 49ers guy. Look, all I'm saying is when you create a team and you can create that chemistry, there's something special about that. And not just having to rely on one person, I think makes Jordan Love a great quarterback. Because it isn't just LaFleur and his scheming, but it's Jordan Love's trust in his receivers. Because the way sometimes he throws that ball off his back foot gives me heart palpitations. I'm just saying, man. I don't know about you. When you
Yeah.
watch those games, Josiah, I know I'm a little bit biased as a Packers fan, but when you watch those games, like when you see Jordan Love doing those throws, how do you feel as like an outsider who's like not affiliated to a team?
Let's see here. I did watch most of the game before I knew it was a lost cause to watch that game, honestly.
So then when do you stop? When did you stop?
I stopped when it was like, I think it was the Cowboys scored they were down, was it 41-17 or something like that? I don't remember. But then they scored a
Yeah.
touchdown. And then they had two more later. I didn't watch the last two, but I did watch
Hmm.
everything before that. Basically, I did see the touchdown pass to Musgrave.
Mm.
Beautiful. Musgrave almost hit the dirt or
Yeah.
hit the ground, but it was a beautiful pass. Let's see here. Oh, was it Aaron Jones was tearing it up on the ground. Three
Oh,
touchdowns
for
on that
sure.
day. He was eating that defense alive. I don't know. Packers defense definitely showed up. It's an interception for Alexander. I don't remember who the other one was.
Yeah.
But there were
Darnell
definitely some key
Savage, one of our
moments.
safeties. Yeah.
Savage, yeah. So Packers definitely did show up. Cowboys definitely have the record and stigma that they hold against the Cowboys, which is the Cowboys can't beat them, especially in the playoffs.
Especially in the playoffs.
Specifically
Yeah.
at specifically at AT&T Stadium. So
Oh, yeah.
that's isn't that now dubbed Lambeau South or something like that
Lambeau
now?
South. I've not
That's what I
heard
was
that,
hearing.
but hey, I'll take it.
All I can do is laugh.
Do you want me? So the Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys?
What was the score to that game? 48.
48-32.
32.
Those were garbage time points. Don't make it act. Don't act like those
those
were
were-
close games. This was a close game.
I think you owe an apology to Jordan Love.
Do I? I thought I said that. Hey, I think he's a really good quarterback. I don't know how far he'll go, but did I say that?
I feel like
No. Well, like, I did say earlier in the season that he wasn't going to do well, but then I apologized to him later. So if I didn't apologize already, I'm sorry, Jordan Love. Apparently you're really good. God damn it, we're gonna have to suffer through another 20 years of Packers domination until the NFC Championship. But anyways,
They'll win one NFC championship.
they'll win one NFC Championship, win a Super Bowl, and that's it.
That's it. Then
If we're following trends here, I can't stop chuckling at the Cowboys because it's like, oh, you're 12-5 this year. You should be really good. All that smack talking, huh, Cowboys fans? We're going to the Super Bowl. This is our year. It's every goddamn year you keep saying that. You haven't made it past the divisional round. You guys suck. You haven't changed. You won't change because you're still keeping McCarthy. Jerry Jones is not changing anything, and you'll act like nothing's wrong when there's clearly a problem here. Oh my God, it's also frustrating because it's like I know they have talent. They do. They have Parsons. They have Prescott. They have Pollard. They have Lamb. They have Ferguson. They don't use McCarthy when it comes to the playoffs. Just sucks. He sucks. And then all these Packers fans are like, well, now you get to deal with the real McCarthy. I'm like, well, that's what he's been doing since he was in Green Bay. He held Rodgers back for so long. Sure, there was the one Super Bowl he won, but McCarthy has never been good. I don't understand why people think he's good. He's not going to lead you to a Super Bowl. Also, Parsons, you were talking shit all year. You were whining and bitching and complaining online, talking about, oh, they should have called this, or, oh, Parsons, where were you? Where were you during that game? You guys had no sacks. No sacks. You couldn't touch Love. Can't touch this. But still, oh my God, it's so frustrating, but it's also hilarious to see this result because it's like, I know they have the talent, but then they go and do this shit when they talk a lot of shit online and then they don't perform in the playoffs. At this point, it's expected. We're not going to change our opinions about you, and you're still going to be this toxic fan base and these toxic players online, but then you'll never show up in the postseason. And then you'll all bitch and complain and talk about like, oh, but it was the refs this year. But you can't blame the refs this year. It was on you this year. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Now, did you see Micah Parsons finally got a holding call?
Yeah, he got his holding call. Congratulations. Now you can stop complaining.
Yeah,
oh, my God.
Before I touch base on anything with the Cowboys, I do want to just give props to the Packers.
Yes, please.
Because I had this conversation. I was like, wow, this is embarrassing for the Cowboys because the Packers are not a good team. Like, they're not good.
They're young and they have that talent, but yeah, I do agree. They're not that good, but they will be.
Like, you sit there and you're like, well, no, all year they've not been a great team. But neither were the Giants when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. They were actually, that is regarded as one of the worst teams to win the Super Bowl because they had the worst point differential in the regular season as far as Super Bowl winners. They were not a good team, and they won the Super Bowl. Just goes to show you don't have to be great in the regular season if you can win in the playoffs, which LaFleur's apparently, well, I won't say God tier as an underdog. He's 17-12 as an underdog,
That's still pretty good. That is a pretty good record.
That's the best it's the best win percentage as an underdog by any coach.
Okay, well then, I mean, I think Matt LaFleur is a really good coach. He still hasn't taken that step to get his team anywhere close to a Super Bowl yet. But I think in due time it'll happen.
The thing that you can take away from this game is that they have built a very deep receiving core.
Yes.
Because what was it? Christian Watson and I think Jaden Reed didn't do like anything because you had Bo Melton. You had
Dobbs, you had Musgrave, you had Wicks. Jones did a lot of the running. 3 touchdowns on the ground, which is really good. Aaron Jones owns the Cowboys. That's like the secondary owner right there.
Just goes to show that a run game is important, and the Cowboys with just Tony Pollard don't have that. Pollard's like a 1-2 punch guy.
Yeah.
As the 2. Yeah, defense also stepped up. Joe Barry might be able to save his job.
At first I was like, is Joe Barry like a genius, or is it the Cowboys that really suck? That's what I was trying to figure out halfway through that game.
They were not. They didn't show up to play. As the NFC East just didn't show up to play. They'd been fighting for playoff spots all year, and they finally got them, and then just didn't show up to play. Jerry Jones sticking with Mike McCarthy, which I'm like fair, because who you really gonna like? There are good coaches, but who do you really take? Because
Bill Belichick.
Do you want Bill Belichick though?
The Falcons already arranged a second meeting as of today, so I mean,
I don't know if he fits well there.
No, I mean, it could work, but it can't.
Jerry Jones wouldn't get along with Bill Belichick.
Oh no,
so
they would not get along.
They wouldn't. What I'm hearing a lot of people talk about is waiting till next year and seeing if Mike Tomlin stays as the Steelers or if the Steelers let him go. And then if the Cowboys pick him up, then you're like, well, now you have a good coach.
Well, that's
But-
if Tomlin wants to leave, though.
Yeah, his contract's expiring. That's why it expires after next year. But
The Steelers would be stupid if they let go of Tomlin.
Yeah, but they sound like they're not necessarily the way they've, especially Steelers fans keep complaining. I'm like, yeah, let him leave, please.
Well, see, the thing is that in years past, it was Tomlin's fault. This year was not his fault. It was just the fact that there were so many mess ups, and this was genuinely a game where I was like, okay, this is not Tomlin's fault. It's just the amount of there was not enough depth. The running game wasn't there. They kept messing up on certain things.
You didn't have a quarterback?
You didn't have a quarterback. So the fact that he got them to the playoffs was already impressive as itself. I just think that this year's loss is not on Tomlin. And if they let go of Tomlin, they are stupid.
The one point I did want to make, though, is after that came out that they were sticking with him, the quote Jerry Jones made was, "This team is very close to winning it all." Like, he's like, this team's very close to winning it all. And I'm
Are
like,
you sure?
no, he's right. Do you know what the problem is? Is your head coach. The team is close. Make the changes you need. You're like, wow, this team has been close for like the past 3 or 4 years. Well, gee, what's been holding you back? You have a quarterback.
Their incompetence.
He's maybe top 10 quarterback. Yeah, you could use a running back, and you could use something to stop the run game. But other than that, your team is pretty damn good. Why are you not winning games? Your head coach sucks at winning in the playoffs. He has every year, and that's why it didn't matter what McCarthy did in the regular season. It was always going to come down to, can he win a playoff game?
And he hasn't.
And he
he's
hasn't.
won. You won against the Bucks last season. Congratulations.
One wild card game with the Cowboys. That is it. I don't know how he still has a job. You gave up the first loss to a 7 seed in history. It was horrible. And again, it's the Packers. When are you going to beat the Pack?
Never. I mean, Prescott even said that he played that garbage.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't look at the interceptions, his stats are not terrible if you don't look at the interceptions. 41 for 60, 403 yards for 3 touchdowns. It's not terrible. But then the 2 interceptions. But let me just say, that's all garbage time. So really, your stats are I don't know, pretty meh. I mean, Love only threw the ball 21 times.
Yeah, because they could run the ball.
Yeah, and when he did throw it, he got 272 yards out of it. I don't think the whole coaching staff needs to overhaul, but I think definitely McCarthy needs to go if they want any shot at anything anytime soon, because you're not going to be able to keep all that talent with you forever. You realize that, because eventually in a year or 2, maybe 3 years, most of those players on that team will be gone. Rams and Lions. That was a close game. That was a lot closer than I thought it would be. I thought the difference in score would be maybe a touchdown. Nah, 1 point was way too close, Lions. I want to say congratulations for breaking your 32-year losing drought in the playoffs.
They are no longer the team with the longest playoff win drought.
Yep. It's now the Dolphins.
When I found that out, I was like, there's no way in hell that is. There's no way.
It is.
And it is. I'm like, how? How is it not the Jets? When was the last time the Jets won a playoff game?
The quarterback was
Sanchez?
yes, it was Sanchez.
Really?
Sanchez. He was the one who beat Tom Brady, remember?
No, I don't remember.
Wait, did he beat Tom Brady? Yeah, he's won 4 times in the playoffs in his career. Mark Sanchez.
Where did he go after the Jets?
Oh my gosh, I forgot. He was in the AFC Championship
On the Jets?
twice. 2010 and 2011.
I mean, I know they had Darrell Revis, and he was like a god tier corner, but I don't recall that. What?
I'm looking at them right now.
I think I have amnesia. Well,
They lost to Pittsburgh
2000
in 2011 in the championship. I didn't.
and you said 2010?
2010. I don't remember who it was. No, it was against Indianapolis.
Yikes.
Yeah.
When were the Jets? I can't believe the Jets were good.
I thought so. No,
Packers.
he did beat Tom Brady. It was
Did he?
2010. Yeah, he won against Patriots 28-21.
Now, did he win or did Darrell Revis win?
So Stafford was booed onto the field, and a lot of people online were like, "Why are you booing the guy who brought you so much success and kept you relevant for so many years?" It's a game.
It's how love.
It's out of love, yeah. See, the thing is that, like, I think Lions fans are like, oh my gosh, Stafford, oh my gosh, outside of the game. But when it's game time, they show no mercy. You would do the same thing if a former quarterback came into your place and tried to beat you guys in, for say, a playoff game. You would boo him too.
Well,
Don't act like you would do that.
I think what it is, because I'm being honest, if I had to play Joe Flacco and the Browns as a Ravens fan, I'd be like, oh, it's Joe Flacco. Hi, Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
Please
but do you
stop
think the
hurting
majority
us."
of the fans?
I think a
say
lot
that?
of fans. I think what that is I think it's the Lions fans being like, we are not soft. We are no one to mess around with. We will
Okay.
boo
That-
you, even though we loved everything and appreciate everything you did. This is a playoff game. Fuck you. Like,
Honestly, that's an interesting perspective. I didn't
I
think
think
about
it's
that.
I think it's
actually.
them trying to show that we're tough. We're not the same old Lions. But I saw something that they banned Lions Matthew Stafford jerseys
Yeah, they banned them.
from coming into the game.
And
And I'm like,
when somebody, there's actually, somebody on
no, Jameson Williams wears.
Williams wears 9. Yeah, Jameson Williams. Yeah, he wears 9. So if you're wearing that jersey, they was like, no, I'm wearing Williams.
Yeah, you gotta- No.
Here, look.
No, don't worry.
Don't worry, I'm not wearing Stafford's. There was one call earlier in the game where I don't remember what it was. It was a call. Actually, I remember 2 things. There was a call that didn't get called apparently, and all the Rams fans were complaining. And then all the Saints fans came into the comments like, "Oh, the Rams are complaining about a pass interference call that wasn't called."
Yeah.
Anyways,
They're-
and then
they-
Higbee got hit.
Oh yeah, he
Awkwardly.
tore his ACL.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. But like,
He's not okay. He tore
no,
his ACL.
no, like I'm saying, I hope he gets better. Is my point.
Yeah, he should. He has the off season. It'll be tough, and it'll be interesting to see if he comes back in time for the next season. Oh, I loved the people taking to the internet and being like, "Wow, the refs were on the Lions' side for once."
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then I did see that when what's his name, Decker.
Oh, Taylor Decker.
Taylor Decker came into the game and everyone was like, yeah. And he was like, quiet down, everybody. I'm trying to do a play here.
He was, I believe, he was used as bait.
He was used as bait. He was. It's part of the game plan. But also, it was just like a lot of people were like, oh, the Lions won barely and they shouldn't have won that game. I'm like, this is the first time they've been in the postseason and won a playoff game in 32 years. And it's like, yes, the refs did screw up one call, but it didn't affect the game entirely, is my point. I know there are definitely some games where, for example, the 2018 playoff game where the Saints should have gotten that PI call.
It's redemption.
That's redemption. But, like, in that case, yes, the refs did screw up that. My point is, as much as the refs suck, there are some games that they can't control entirely, or like they don't have enough influence to influence the outcome, if that makes sense. It's just there are some moments, but it's not enough to be like, those refs right there, they fucked us up.
Yeah, those guys aren't in. the
Yeah,
playoffs. We know
it's
that.
just like you get like those situations, and it's like, okay, well, then there's like, Lions Cowboys earlier this year, but we don't really talk about that. But yeah, anyways, Eagles and Buccaneers. What did I tell you? I told you.
Listen,
I
there
told
was
you.
I was just saying, I wasn't saying that they were going to win. I picked them to win, but I wasn't saying that it's not possible for the Eagles to not fix things. I just thought that they would try and that they would do a better job of fixing things. But they did not. Dude, it was not. I just think morale was low because they did not show up at all. And also, play calling was poor because you know how I've been saying that you need to run in the playoffs to win? You know how many rushes DeAndre Swift had?
No, but I do know his yards
He had 10 rushes.
for 34 yards, yeah.
They gave him the ball 10 times. This is the Eagles, who a year ago made the playoffs because they had a dominant run game.
Yep.
What do you do?
Where do they go? I don't know.
I think a lot of it is, what's the offensive coordinator? Is it Aaron Johnson? Or I don't remember who it was. Both of their coordinators were bad.
No,
the tackling was horrible.
Yeah.
It was just, and I won't take it away from the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers played great.
Oh, they did.
They did phenomenal, but there were missed tackles. There were horrible play calls on offense. It was not. The Eagles did not show up to play.
Yeah.
They gave up before the game started.
Yeah.
So.
And another bad news for Eagles fans, Kelsey did announce retirement. Jason Kelsey.
Well.
Kind of. He did tell his teammates that he was going to retire, and then all of the NFL did say he was going to retire.
But he came out on his show and said that would not be how he announces his retirement, and has since said that basically that is not him announcing his retirement, and he hasn't made that decision yet. Now, he sounds like he might still be done, but he is not officially said. Well, according to his podcast, he is not officially announced retirement.
He's unofficially officially retired. Kind of. I don't know how to say that without making it sound weird, because it's like he's not done, but he is done. He's going out on his own terms, basically.
I don't know. There's a chance he comes back. I think he probably, with how he sounded on his podcast, he sounds like he's done, but I'm not going to speculate or make that announcement for him because that's his announcement to make. And if he says that he's not officially retired yet, I'm not going to say that he is, but I think it could be his. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was his last year. He's a fun guy.
I don't want him to go.
He was my favorite. He's my favorite Eagle, I would say.
Yeah. So we get that heartwarming side of the news, and then we get Eagles fans throwing popcorn at Sirianni after he walked off the field after the game. Yeah, that's Eagles fans. So.
Yeah, freaking people talking about Eagles moving on from Sirianni. I'm like, how? He just took you to a Super Bowl a year ago. Clearly there's other issues, but
let's not hope for another Peterson situation. That again.
I think the one thing about that fan though was the fan you mentioned dumping popcorn on him was the fact that once he got confronted about it, he was like, and then he ran away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's just yeah, you beast.
Another reason that I wanted the Buccaneers to win was because they have two former Husker players playing. So Palmer and Levante David.
Palmer had a touchdown?
Palmer had a touchdown.
I was like, that man's looking... If he wasn't on a team with a stacked receiving core, he could actually be a good... He still is a good receiver.
Yeah. He just, he needs more time.
Although Levante David might be done after this year.
Which sucks. Because he's a good player. I don't want him to retire. There's a lot of players I don't want to retire, but the time is coming. We're going to end because I think who are the remnants of the last era? I think it's Rodgers and QB wise. We're getting to the end of an era, is my point.
Well, Joe Flacco,
but he's
sort of. Matthew Stafford was 2009.
I guess Stafford would be in that, but I guess my point is that the end of an era is coming. Stroud and Love are moving in. Mahomes, Allen will have that rivalry forever. Lamar Jackson will be there.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow will be there.
Deshaun Watson.
Hey. Now we go on to the divisional round in the predictions. We got the Texans and Ravens first. Gee, I wonder who you're picking.
The Baltimore fucking Ravens.
If the Ravens don't win this game, I'm going to call this an utter failure for the Ravens this year.
I mean, I think going into this season, we were nowhere near, like, Super Bowl favorites. And I think that coming into this year has shown that, like, I'm already extremely happy with what we've done. I would like to get some playoff wins because I want to prove that we can win in playoffs. Because I think it's a thing, and I'll equate it to the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks was, the Bucks can win playoff games. They can't make it to a finals and win a finals with Giannis. And then they did because all it takes is, like, one run. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to do it every year. You don't have to, like, I'd rather make it once than, like, have the Josh Allen treatment and make it to the championship game and lose every year. It's like...
Yeah, it just depends on... So the other thing is situations and who they were playing at the time. But
yeah, plus, and I think the Texans are a good team because, again, they're young with a new coach. So them winning their first year would be wild. But I think that's... I think it's a stretch. I think we're set up in a way that is going to be very beneficial for us. And I think both the Chiefs and the Bills after that are also winnable games. We're playing at home, so we're going to have that whole aspect of just the fact that it's a home game.
mm-hmm.
Fans going to go crazy.
Go crazy.
We're getting Mark Andrews back. And I think the thing different from years past is we have an offensive coordinator who actually throws the ball and works a balanced offense. And our defense this year is just...
It's lights out.
Like,
I didn't expect it from this unit.
We usually have a pretty good defense. Hence that's why, like, our 2 Super Bowls that we have won came from
defenses.
Was from superb defenses. Like, we were good in the run game, and we struggled with... We had a bunch of injuries in the backfield, or our defensive backs. But
you had injuries that prevented you from going anywhere. So.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't have injuries now. Who's our running back? I don't know, Gus Edwards. We moved Melvin Gordon down to the practice squad, so it's Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, I guess.
But Edwards is still pretty good, though. He's a very reliable...
He is. He's just, like, he's a heavy, like, he's a power runner, and I kind of, like, it was nice having Keaton Mitchell, because you want someone who has that versatility, that is, like, they can be the quick guy, and whether it's one guy, like a Christian McCaffrey, who can do everything, or if it's, like, a 1-2 combo, and just one of them is that versatility guy, like Zeke and Pollard when they were playing together. You need someone who has that quickness for, like, early downs.
Yes.
And that can break off big runs. Gus Edwards is, hey, it's 2nd and goal, or it's 3rd and 1. Hand it to Gus Edwards, and he'll just run. He'll just power through. And it's like, that's great to have. I love that. But he's a wrecking ball, and I kind of want someone who can who's good for breaking big runs. I think the Ravens have one of the best teams we've had in a long time. Because I think the last time we made the 1 seed, it was just Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Doing, like,
that
everything.
That was all Lamar Jackson doing it.
Now we have Lamar Jackson, who's MVP candidate, probably MVP favorite. You have a receiving core that actually can do stuff.
Flowers,
Beckham, Andrews, and Likely.
Likely's really good.
He is really good.
If he wasn't behind Andrews, he's definitely a starting tight end anywhere else.
Yeah, I was saying that. I was like, if Andrews doesn't come back, I still feel confident because it's
Likely.
Likely is Likely is a good tight end. And I'm like, having him as a tight end too.
Yeah.
And he's like a little bit built more for, like, catch and run.
Yeah, catch and run.
So it's like, and that's a great 1-2 combo. And you have Bateman, Beckham, Flowers. And I'm like, wow, we can actually go 5 wide. I've really liked what Monken has done with the offense, and I think that I think that has been our downfall in years past is just poor offensive play calling. Because usually we just don't score points. So I think this year will show an ability to actually be better. So I'm going Ravens because I'm a Ravens fan, but also because I firmly believe that the Ravens are the favorite to win this game. They should win this game. And could they lose? Yeah, but they shouldn't. And
But they could.
They could, because it's the Texans, and they've been
Texans
doing
are
well.
just hot.
But
they're just on a streak right now. And the thing is that I did pick the Ravens as well to win this game. It's just if the Texans do win, it's just like, well, that's not a surprise at this point.
I won't be horribly surprised. I will be sad.
I mean, you got your team knocked out if that happens,
but Texans,
logically, Ravens should win this game.
Yeah, because again, it's even with how hot the Texans are, I still think the Ravens are the better team.
Yeah. The Chiefs at the Bills. The Chiefs are finally on a road game.
Yeah, this is what Mahomes' first time on a
road game.
There's a part of me that's just like I'm so conflicted because I'm like, oh, it's the Chiefs against the Bills.
Chiefs have always won against the Bills.
And what was the thing? The last time Patrick Mahomes hadn't made an AFC championship was when the Patriots beat the Jaguars in the AFC championship. And
oh my God! Yeah,
that is how long he's been in the AFC championship every year since.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh wow, is he really not gonna make it? And then I sit there and I look at this team, and I'm like, even when the Bills are looking iffy, you're playing in Buffalo, and that's the other thing is like he's never played a road game, but he's made the AFC Championship. So that means every time he's made it to the AFC Championship, he's playing at home. So we don't know how he's going to do on the road in a playoff game. And with how this team is looking this year, I can see them winning because it's the Bills, and they have a track record of beating them in the playoffs.
Yes, but there's a lot of more factors favoring the Bills this time around.
I'm going to go with the Bills because
I'm also going to go with the Bills.
But
I also won't be surprised if the Chiefs somehow pull off another BS win because it's the Chiefs and Goodell needs all these ratings because Taylor Swift is here and she's dating Kelsey, and we need to make sure it's all Chiefs every single year. And the refs. But my point being, the Chiefs do have a really good team when they can perform at certain
their defense is great.
Their defense is good. Their offense is kind of meh. They also played the Dolphins, who didn't have a defense that day. Like you said.
The thing is, like I said, it's can you run the ball? Chiefs are pretty good with stopping the run. Their defense is just good in general. And so the Bills, they're going to have to use Cook a little bit, but I think it's going to be mostly Josh Allen and his playmaking abilities.
Yeah.
On that side. On the other side is Pacheco. Now, we know Pacheco we know that they can lean on Pacheco. The question is, can the Bills stop Pacheco? But
the Bills, yes, while banged up, they still have made a bunch of moves. Or not moves. They've made a bunch of progress without some of their starters. I do think the element of being at home definitely plays a key factor in a lot of playoff playoff games. And I do think the Bills will win in the aspect of it's home. It's going to be cold. The Bills fans are crazy. Chiefs fans, I think you've had it good for a few years. I guess you just have woken up to the reality that you can lose. They think they're going to go to the Super Bowl every single year, which is fair because they have Mahomes and that team and everything. It's just you also have to realize that Brady didn't go to the Super Bowl every single year either, or nonetheless made it past the championship sometimes. Or sometimes Brady lost in the he's lost I think one or two wild cards, and he's lost in plenty of divisional rounds. So it happens. Like Mahomes is not going to be that good every single year, but he's good. It's just I think this year it might not happen for you guys.
Well, yeah, and
So-
again, the other thing that I point to is obviously there's receivers. Everyone points to the receivers. But again, they also don't have Bieniemy. They've had him every other year, and that is another thing with their offense is their offense has not been as effective, and you're missing. You're probably one of the best offensive coordinators in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You let him walk, your offense drops, and so it's also this team is so much different than all of the teams in years past that it's so hard to compare them to any of the teams that have won before. That is why it is so difficult making this pick, because it's like, oh, Chiefs of the past probably would have won this game. Chiefs of the past also probably wouldn't be on the road here.
No, they would be at home.
And I think that would basically make it a guaranteed win, as much as I hate that. There's so much change, and your defense has stepped up, absolutely, but your offense playing on the road, you have all of these factors, you have less receivers. Can the Bills cover Travis Kelce?
I want the Bills to win, but I can also see the Chiefs winning. So it's just my pick. Remember, I always usually root for underdogs or teams that haven't won championships in a long time or never. And most of the time, the latter happens to be the one that determines everything, for me at least. So I would like the Bills to win, but Chiefs, they do have a number on the Bills. So Packers and Niners. Easy for me, Niners. Packers, as much as, don't get me wrong, Love is developing into a really good quarterback. They've got all that talent on the receiving core. They are a young team who can make a lot of noise in the future, and I believe that. The issue becomes, can they stop the 49er machine, the juggernaut? I don't think so. That 49ers team looks unbeatable right now. Not unbeatable, but like they're really good. I don't think they're gonna beat them.
It's mostly coaching. For the Packers to win, they have to get out to an early start.
Yes.
And they do need to they need to get out to a point like they did against the Cowboys, and they need to make Brock Purdy make mistakes. Because once he gets behind, that's when he starts to make more and more mistakes.
Yeah.
The reason he looks so good is they're good at getting ahead and staying ahead, and he plays comfortably there. When he tries to lead a comeback is usually when things go wrong.
Yes.
So, I think there's a realm where the Packers can win this, because if the Packers continue to play like they did last week, and not like they take the whole thing, throw away the regular season, and just play like they've been playing, absolutely, I think they can win this game if they do the right things. I don't think their defense is going to be able to do enough, and your offense is gonna have a hard time. You're not gonna be putting up 48 points on the 49ers. So you're gonna need your defense to step up, and I think Joe Barry just isn't good enough for that.
They've got so much talent on the Niners side as well, and I think the Niners definitely have the experience aside from Purdy and a couple other positions.
Niners are built.
They're
built for.
they're built to, it's either Super Bowl or bust. That's how they're built right now.
Yeah, Packers are playing with. They're playing with house money. They could lose, and they'd be like, "This was a great success."
Yeah.
Because you have all these guys, and it's like all of these guys are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going with 49ers. I think if the coaching on the Packers side, if the Packers play to the weaknesses of the 49ers and they can actually capitalize on those, there's an avenue for them to win this.
Mm-hmm. But that's a very narrow avenue, though.
It's you got to coach it real well. And like people have been saying, the 49ers have been game planning since the second quarter of that Cowboys game.
Yeah, they've been game planning.
They started 3 quarters ahead of time. So
Yeah.
I think the Packers might make it. They have a chance to make it interesting at least.
Yeah, they definitely do.
But
Yeah. I do want to let my friend be able to say a couple of things about this game before we wrap up this game. So,
a moment of silence.
moment of silence.
Kind of moving on to next week. So I know the Packers are going up against the 49ers, and that's a huge game specifically because the 49ers seem to be this unstoppable machine to a
Seem
degree.
to be.
Seem to
Hmm.
be. Seem to be. So you're facing the number one seed. How do you feel about the Packers this coming week?
Man, look, let me just say, I did not want to play the 49ers. I don't ever want to play the 49ers. Even since Colin Kaepernick, the Packers have not beat the 49ers in the playoffs for like what, the past 6 appearances? Since like '05, I think. It's been since '05, man. I was barely even born in '05, man. I was a little baby at that time. And then the Packers were be able to beat the 49ers in the playoffs. But look, hey, look, I am not excited at all for the 49ers. You know why? Cause they're gonna be nervous. Cause honestly, look, who wants to play the Packers right now? Joe Barry, he comes from the coaching tree at the Kyle Shanahan offense. Man, guess who's coaching the offense on the other side of the ball for Green Bay? Huh? That's Kyle Shanahan. Like that guy, right? He's the coach of the 49ers, right? Am I not tripping? Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah, yeah, Kyle
Yeah, he's a
Shanahan.
Shanahan coaching tree. Look, hey, Shanahan, hey, he's a great coach and all, right? But I'm just saying there are ways to beat them. There are ways to beat them, and maybe they lost to the Ravens on purpose. Maybe they lost to the Ravens on purpose. Maybe Brock Purdy threw like what, like 4 interceptions? Was it like 3 or 4? Man,
Or
what a crazy dude. Brock Purdy cannot play when he's down. You know,
nope.
man, he was all
Yeah.
he was already down. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a discussion over that one of our episodes where Will, who's actually a Ravens fan, he
Mm.
did say that Brock Purdy has not won a game when he is down at any point during the season. Every loss is when they are not holding the lead. So
Mm.
I don't know if the Packers get up to a pretty decent lead. I don't know if the 49ers can come back from that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's also that stipulation that Joe Barry defense is not that good. I
Yeah,
mean,
hey, us Packers fans, look, we're the cheeseheads, but our defense sometimes can be Swiss cheese. I can't even lie. I know it's a cheesy joke, but it's us. It really is us. But look, our defense has been good for the past couple of times. But when has it been good? Against the Vikings with what? Nick Mullins? Bro, who is that? No offense. Right? Sometimes wins are not wins because you are better than your opponent. Sometimes wins are wins because your opponent just sucks. Right? And anyone could beat him. Same thing with the
mhm.
Bears, we own the Bears. And look, hey, they got a new head coach, Justin Fields sometimes. We can't really blame him for the system that he's in. We know he's talented, but we also know that he doesn't really have the support around him to really fly like the little butterfly he is. He is just still a caterpillar, in that Bears offense. Truly, truly. They don't let him
Really,
fly.
no,
He's like an angel with wings cut off, which is pretty much just a human being. So that's
pretty
Justin
much.
Fields.
So,
And look, hey, the
yeah,
Cowboys, yeah, they're the Cowboys, man. We don't like it should not really count for us. The only thing that we should be worried about right now is how hard our coaching staff is working. Because if Joe Barry wants to keep his job, he better win this darn game, or at least look pretty darn good in it. His
yeah.
whole entire life is on the line here, and I think he
Oh,
knows it.
really?
Yeah.
So, so if the Packers do lose, do you think this season would be garnered as a success? Because I don't know, a 9-8 season, just starting Jordan Love with a very young team who didn't or really wasn't expected to go this far at all, let alone the playoffs. Do you think this is a successful year, regardless if you do lose?
The thing is, like, what was our goal at the beginning of the season? Our goal was always to win that Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Look, we were there to collect W's the whole entire season. And I don't think there should be any team that exists in the NFL right now that should not be going for those Super Bowls. So yes, I will say something controversial and say it would be a loss if we lose to the 49ers. Because we do have a team around us. We do have studs on defense and on offense, and we've been playing high caliber. You can't look at your whole entire season and be like, hey, look, this was an off season. Genuinely, this is the NF freaking L. You know what I'm saying? This is the National Freaking Football League. So when you're a part of the NFL, one of the highest earning, highest grossing, the league with the most money in the United States, and you don't aim to win a Super Bowl year after year, then that's a problem, right? You shouldn't have a job if you're not trying to win a Super Bowl. The only purpose of this football is to win the big game, right? Or else, why else would you play if you're not going to actually play? At the end of the day, all these other franchises are failures. But the Packers are a franchise that aims for greatness, the peak of greatness, each and every year. And that's what we did this year. And to lose is obviously a loss. It is. And many people won't admit that. People are like, oh, we didn't expect much of them. But we expect more of us. And that's what we should do as human beings as well. But that's another story. That is another story.
You do have a pretty good point. I do like the mentality that if you don't win this year, then you're never going to win ever again. But I mean, for that young team, it would be pretty interesting to see how far they go.
Yeah.
If they beat the 49ers, that's an accomplishment right there. And if you beat the 49ers and the Lions win, that's a rematch right there. Lions and Packers. So that would be
Yeah,
an
for the
interesting
North,
game.
baby. Yeah.
For the North, literally.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I do like rooting for the Lions, but seeing Jordan Love and his development, seeing all that wide receiver core getting developed, the fact that Joe Barry still has a job and the defense is actually showing up, it's quite an interesting turn, honestly. So
Yeah.
if we do get a Packers Lions championship, that would be a game to remember, for sure.
It would be.
For sure.
It definitely would be.
Yeah.
You know, to explain it to you in Fortnite terms, Josiah, because you know nowadays these kids they just always playing Fortnite, right? Imagine you drop onto a map, right, and you're getting loot, but you don't get good loot. You know what I'm saying? And you and then what do you aim to do? Even when you don't get good loot, you always aim for getting that victory royale. You know what I'm saying? And if you lose, then you lose, then you lost. You don't count it a victory if you kill one person. That's not what you aim to do when you're playing Fortnite. You always, when you get bad, even when you get bad loot, when you get a young receiver core, when you get a young quarterback, a young team around you, you don't just aim to beat one team. You try to go for that victory royale. And that's what the Packers are going to try to do. That's what we're going to try to do. That's what we're going to try to do this Saturday. You better show up.
I never thought in any recent memory I would hear a Fortnite comparison to the NFL, but here we are. But it's actually a great analogy. So, yeah, any closing thoughts for the Packers or any other your opponents, specifically the Niners?
If the Packers lose against the Niners, I will jump off a building. It will be a very small building. In fact, it might be just a one-story building, but I will jump off of it, and I will duck and I will roll, just to show my misery and my commitment to the Packers. Also, one other thing, there was this really cute thing that the Packers posted on their Instagram of of kids riding to different Green Bay Packers players, and I like this one kid. He was all like, yeah, like why, like it was like an ad lib kind of thing where they sent to the Packers, and he was like, yeah, we the reason why I want the Packers to win next week is so I can rub it in my neighbor's face. And genuinely, hey, look, there's a lot of 49ers fans out there. Them Darren bandwagons after Mr. Brock Purdy came over there. But I'll tell you one thing, though. I will rub it in everyone's face if the Packers come out on top.
Well, thank you for joining me for this little segment.
Man, hey, it's good to be on here, Josiah. You're making a lot of good work, man. So it's really great to see you succeed.
Thank you. Hopefully we can get you on here more.
Yeah. No, I'd love
Yes,
to.
for sure.
I'd love to.
For sure. All right.
So last game, Buccaneers and Lions. Obviously, I picked the Lions. Like I said, underdogs or teams that haven't won or haven't in a long time a championship. I like this game. Just looking at it from a perspective of like, there's not like a very, I haven't heard a lot of negativity towards this matchup in the sense that either fan base is very toxic. It's just a very like, this is just a game. Like,
Well, because it's one
they're both teams that they've gotten to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They're like, okay, if we lose this year, it's like, okay.
Yeah, Lions' first playoff win in 32 years. That's
a milestone right there.
And you also hosted your first game at Ford Field. And then you look at the Buccaneers, who were projected to be like a bottom 5 team, and they were like, although I will say, it wasn't between the fan bases, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Baker Mayfield were throwing some shots at each other, which I thought was funny, because
CJ, just keep your mouth shut.
I think it
Please make
was
this a very
funny
nice
though.
game.
Like I love Baker, and Baker can absolutely take the shots. But I just loved him.
Definitely.
They have a really good roster. They could really win some games if they had a good QB.
QB. He's like,
And-
oh, I didn't see Russell Gage in there or whatever he said.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, you had Russell Gage in your comments, and he's really not been getting any snaps, which is funny because I think it's almost
Russell
like
Gage is catching strays right now.
Yeah, he's catching strays from his own quarterback, and he's
It's
like,
like,
what the
damn.
Baker.
Baker,
Fuck,
I
man.
thought you were teammates.
No, here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna throw on Russell Gage, and he's gonna go off for like 60 yards.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. I'm going to say Lions will win, but
I've been so back and forth because I'm like, Lions seem like the better team. Seem like the
playing at
better team.
home.
They're playing at home, but then again, they haven't played much in the playoffs. And then you look at the other side, it's like the Buccaneers aren't supposed to be as good of a team.
yeah.
But
I
they
mean,
looked
the
really good
Rams
last week.
weren't either. I thought the Rams were going to be bad this year, but
Well, I
apparently
mean,
they-
even coming into the playoffs, like
Yeah.
Rams were looking. A lot of people were really high on the Rams, and I was like, I don't think they even make it past the Lions.
no.
Buccaneers, I wasn't expecting them to necessarily do well. I could have seen them winning, but I could have seen it as an ugly win. It was not an ugly win,
No.
which has me thinking like this is absolute like. Originally, before the playoffs started, I was like, if the Buccaneers beat the Eagles and the Lions beat the Rams, easy slide to the Lions. But now I'm like at a point where I'm like, this honestly could go either way. With how
Yeah.
I love watching Baker. Love watching Baker.
I
He's
know.
so much fun.
And that's why I think that I wouldn't I would prefer the Lions. I would be sad if they did lose, but if Baker and the Buccaneers just win this game, I'm just like, okay, I'm not too upset because I do want Baker Mayfield to succeed to an extent. I just don't think he's like Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar Jackson caliber quarterback. That's the thing. I don't think he's that good, but I think he's like definitely the next step if he plays well.
It's hard for me to say because it's like the only team left who I'm like, yeah, that probably should be a Super Bowl team is the 49ers. I look at the Packers and I'm like, there's no way they make the Super Bowl. But then I look at the Lions and the Buccaneers and I'm like,
Someone's got to win here.
between the Lions and the Buccaneers, two teams that I didn't really expect to make. I mean, I predicted the Lions to make the NFC Championship when the playoffs started.
Oh yeah.
But like I'm looking at it now, I'm like, that would be, especially if one of them goes up against the Packers. I'm like, that NFC Championship would be wild, regardless of who wins that game. I'm like,
yeah. So there were people who were like, let's have a Texans Packers Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, let's hold our horses here. That would be cool. I don't know if that will happen because there's a lot of things that have to play out.
Lions Bills or Lions Texans, because then if someone's getting their first
Lions
Super Bowl.
Bills would be the most ideal Super Bowl, I feel like, in my opinion.
Well, Lions Texans would be interesting.
No, I'm saying like that's my first. Second would definitely be Texans Lions, but I prefer the Bills.
I think
The Bills have suffered enough. in their
Ravens
history.
Packers is
No, we don't want the Packers to be in the Super Bowl this year. Just kidding. I would.
It'd be funny.
If
It'd be a
the
funny
Packers
slight
do
at
end up
Aaron
making
Rodgers.
to the Super Bowl, I'm just gonna say,
It was Aaron Rodgers.
It was Aaron Rodgers.
It was
the
Aaron
curse is here.
Rodgers.
They'll win one Super Bowl and be mediocre for the next 20 years. Mediocre meaning they won't get past the championship. My
just
point
Aaron
still being is that Love is developing correctly. I don't think they're going to go too far this year. Same with the Texans. But if they do, good for them.
I don't know. It's such a hard game. They played earlier this year and it was close too.
Yeah. Do you think Buccaneers or Lions? Just say one.
I think the Lions, but I don't.
You're not confident in that answer?
No, because there's a part of me that wants to go with the underdog of the Buccaneers, but I don't know. I'm gonna stick with the Lions because someone has to get upset,
Someone has to upset somebody. So
and I don't want it to happen to the Lions because I like the Lions.
I do like the Lions team.
I love
I
Daniel.
love the team. I love Dan Campbell. He's
But
so
the thing
funny.
is, they do have the weaknesses to where they could lose.
Yeah.
I don't think their team is ready for a Super Bowl.
No. But they have the talent. Don't think
But
they will get it.
Baker Mayfield in the Super Bowl, while that shouldn't happen, would be really funny, and I'd be like, yes, Baker.
What if Baker Mayfield wins a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers? It's like, oh no, we didn't get rid of the Buccaneers when Tom Brady left. But I don't
Browns are sitting there, and they're like,
Dang it. This is what we could have had. All around me are familiar.
I do think it was
faces.
a bad move on their part. So
Yeah,
to be
I don't
fair,
know why they moved on from
Maybe he's
Baker.
on a revenge year.
I don't know.
NFC's
Anyways,
NFC will be interesting either way, and I think the 49ers are the only team that would be like, if they made it, we'd be like, yeah.
yeah, that
Like
was
they should.
expected.
Anyone else, I'd be like,
Oh, okay.
shit, they made the play. They made the Super Bowl.
It's the same thing with like the situation like, oh yeah, if the Ravens win, it's like, oh okay, well.
Yeah, but
it's-
even then, I'd be like,
same thing with the Chiefs. It's the Bills and the Texans that would be like, what? They're in the Super Bowl right now?
well,
What?
even the Chiefs, if they, like, I think anyone in the AFC is like, if they make it, I'm like,
Oh, okay.
because Ravens, I wasn't expecting to do this well. Chiefs would be surprising because of how poorly they ended the regular season.
Yes.
And then Bills because they haven't made it, and Texans because no one expected this.
No.
So I'm like, AFC's interesting. NFC, unless it's the 49ers that just completely stampede through, is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. I think in the future we'll definitely have some more, I guess, not cameos, but more people joining the podcast or whatever works, I guess. But I guess it'll just be more of a surprise whenever it happens because I feel like if we get people on this podcast, that'd be really cool. But we shall see. But thank you all for joining us. We will see you in the conference championships recaps, or excuse me, the divisional round recaps and the conference championship predictions. But yeah, thank you for joining us.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.